Winnie, are you looking for a place to hide your bone? You should just eat the bone. That's the whole point. Well, hello everyone. Your girl is shiny. Let's be honest, it's sweat. I've been trying to hurdle a dog who is attempting very desperately to hide her bone. And now she's given up and is lying in her bed over there. Whew, today we're here to do the end of the year book tag. Now I have already filmed this, but I didn't post it. And so I've read some of the books that I talked about in that. So here we are, we're doing it again. It's really end of year now because it's end of November as I'm filming this. And here we are. It's actually American Thanksgiving while I am filming this. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you Americans out there. I've got my trusty list of questions. Let's dive in. Question number 1. Are there any books you've started this year and need to finish? And yes, absolutely. And one of them is 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. That's the main one that keeps coming to mind. I usually don't pick up fiction and then put it down again. And for some reason, this is a book that I've just been picking up and putting down, and I don't know why. It has nothing to do with the book. I'm enjoying the book. This is a thriller about 9 people who end up receiving a letter in the mail. It's not really a letter because it's literally just a list of names, and their name is on it, but they don't really recognize any of the other people on the list. And then, of course, bad things start happening to the people on the list. Luckily for these people on the list, one of the people is, I think, an FBI agent. And so, of course, she knows what to do with this kind of thing. And she needs to find some sort of link that all of these people have together. It's really interesting. I love that kind of premise. So I'm enjoying it. I need to finish this by the end of the year. That is one of my goals for sure. Question number 2, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? So originally my answer for this was The Hacienda, but I've already finished it. Really enjoyed it, by the way. If you've seen wrap-ups and stuff, loved it. Now I would say The Animals at Lockwood Manor. I'm in the midst of this. I'm 100 pages in, and guys, this is fantastic. This is Gothic literature at its best. She gives me Stacey Hall vibes. It is historical fiction with a very eerie undertone. This follows a woman who is 30 years old. Her name is Hetty, and she's there to take care of the Natural History Collection. It's a collection of animals that are basically stuffed, and it's 1939. The World War II is in full swing, and they keep waiting for the bombs to drop in London. And so she has been put in charge of bringing some of the natural history collection to the countryside, essentially, to keep them safe. So she's shown up at a place called Lockwood Manor. And when she gets there, she notices that there are strange things in the house. There is talk of a ghost, particularly of a woman in white, which is, I mean, there's a whole book called The Woman in White. So very classic. And we also get to know the daughter of the manor, Lucy Lockwood, who is said to have suffered from a lot of anxiety. Her mother and grandmother recently-ish died together in a car crash, and she's reeling from that, and she's having flashbacks of her childhood and history living in Lockwood Manor. And it's great, really good writing. I'm really intrigued by both of our main characters, and I'm rooting for both of them, and they're becoming fast friends, and I'm really liking this. I have another Jane Healey on my not my Kindle. I don't have a Kindle. I have a Kobo. I think that one's called The Ophelia Girls. So now that I'm reading this and liking it so much, I'm excited to pick that one up for sure. So there's that. So that is my question. Does feel weird to say autumnal book when to me, it feels like full-blown winter. As soon as there's snow on the ground, it feels like winter to me. Question number 3. Is there a new release you're still waiting for? And the answer to this is no, because I've been doing a little damage and I've been buying myself books that I have been very intrigued by. Most of them came out September, October, and I snatched them up. I bought them all. And so I don't have any that I'm like waiting on for end of, November, December releases. So no, because I've been a greedy, greedy girl. Question number 4. What 3 books do you want to read before the end of the year? And this is funny. I changed up my answers to this one as well. But this particular one is not going to change. This is the last book in the Tana French Dublin Murder Squad series. This whole series has truly made my 2022 so wonderful. Like, I have adored this series. I'm sad that this is ending. Essentially, the Dublin Murder Squad follows a series of detectives, a few detectives, and you have the main detective that you are following through it changes book by book, so you don't have to read this in order. Just out of pleasure and the enjoyment of it, I would recommend reading it in order, because you do get to know your main detectives and also who their partner is. And I've just enjoyed it. And so here we are, we're following another detective, Detective Antoinette Conway. And she has a case that is fairly graphic and disturbing. We are at the scene of a crime. It looks like I believe a domestic abuse situation. There's a woman who is dead in her living room next to a table set for a romantic dinner. And when Antoinette gets there, she recognizes the woman. She's not sure from where, and she needs to figure that out. And I think it's links to her past. So a lot of the time, the detective's past is brought up in one way or another, and they're like working through something on their own as well. That's not the main thing, but it's a great side thing, because you end up having these super fleshed out, I'm not sure, characters, which I love. I love that. So I absolutely want to read this in December, or before then if I can get to it. Next is a bit of a historical fiction meets fantasy book that's right up my alley and perfect for Christmas. This is Midnight in Everwood. Barry bought this for me last year for Christmas, and obviously I wanted to wait until the Christmas season to read it. And this takes place in 1906 in Nottingham, and we follow a woman named Marietta, and she is a dancer, a ballet dancer, and her dancing days are essentially numbered. Her family really want her to marry very soon. But she does meet Uncle Drosselmeyer, who brings this like magic into her life. He constructs a set for a ballet that she's going to be in, and soon it, I think, transports her to like straight into the Nutcracker and that whole world. And so I am very eager to read this. I find it really hard to find historical fiction. Like, I know this has fantasy in it, but I find it hard to find historical fiction Christmas books. I gravitate towards that at this time of year. I don't really mind like the cute, romantic, modern Christmas stories, but just like personal preference, I like historical fiction Christmas stuff. So if you guys have any suggestions for that, I am all ears, because it's definitely something I enjoy. So I want to read that before the end of the year. And last but certainly not least is a purchase that I've made fairly recently. This is The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell, and I adore this woman's writing so much. This follows quite young woman whose sister is set to be engaged and married to, I think, a duke. This takes place in the 1550s in Florence. Now, her sister sadly dies very suddenly, and her parents essentially decide that she should marry this duke now that her sister has passed. And so she does, and she's thrown into the limelight. She's thrown into a world where she doesn't belong, isn't making any friends. The court atmosphere is very unforgiving and unwelcoming, and she's in the midst of it. And she also recognizes that to like hold down her place in the society, she has to give birth to a child, preferably a male child, as quickly as possible. And the stress of all of that, like, it absolutely reminds me of Marie Antoinette. At least the movie, I understand that she was a historical figure and all of that. I read a book on her, but the movie in my mind with Kirsten Dunst comes to mind with that. And yeah, just what a hard life. And I think there's a lot of tension and maybe even some danger as to who her husband truly is. Oh, I want to read this so desperately. Like, it is desperate. Okay. Question number 5. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? I mean, it would be hard to beat my number 1 book, but if anything is going to beat it, it really probably would be The Marriage Portrait. She's masterful at storytelling and making you care about characters. I sobbed reading Hamnet. Like, after putting that book down, I sobbed for a good 10 minutes, hoping that no one would come into the room because I needed to get it out of my system. So this could do it, but I don't know. We shall see. Okay, and the last and final question is question number 6. Have you started making reading plans for next year? A little. Not too much so far because I'm still very much in 2022 and I'm not fully ready for 2023. On my channel, I mean, I would love to do a little bit more vlogging. They don't get the biggest views on my channel, I will say, but I really like the experience. It like gives me a chance to document my life a little bit, and it feels, I don't know, more conversational with you guys, and I get to take more videos of Nora. And there's also something to be said about, you know, romanticizing your life, and I noticed that I'm a little bit happier when I'm vlogging sometimes. I don't know what that says, but there is something to be said about romanticizing your life and, you know, trying to capture moments of joy and also moments that you're grateful for, whether it's big or small things. So there's that. In terms of reading, I do have a goal to read another detective series, because for the most part, that has really just brought me so much joy. The Nikki French series that I read, for the Frida Klein series, I should say, I just adored that series. And then of course Tana French. I seem to have like a hit with Frenches, all of the Frenches. But I'm moving on to another series next year. I've already decided I'm going to pick them up. I think so far there are 5 in the series, and it's the Jackson Brodie series by Kate Atkinson, another writer that I know I adore, and I am so looking forward to diving into this whole series. I think it starts with case histories. Actually, I'm not sure what order these go in, and I will certainly have to figure that out before I start, but I'm sure that will be fine. I don't know anything about Jackson Brodie thus far. I don't really know a lot going into it, but I'm really looking forward to a new series for a new year. And that's really the only reading plans that I have. I don't really have any other goals or anything, but I'll think more on that towards the end of 2022 or early 2023. What about you guys? Do you have any goals for next year, or like things you'd like to do in your reading life? I would love to know. And that was the end of the year book tag. I feel like I am late to the game doing this one, but better late than never. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will chat with you very soon.